Good Friday evening, everybody. Christopher McDonald with you tonight as we wrap up another week of shows on the McFiles News Network. And got to get the hat looking right here. We got a special guest. I wasn't expecting her tonight. I thought about her at the last minute. I knew we were supposed to have her earlier last week, and the ice storm hit and sort of deep sixed that. But she is with us tonight, the one and only Leslie Milwee. It is good to see you, friend. How are you doing tonight?
I am wonderful. This is a good day.
This is a very good day in the country. Anytime that Don Lemon's arrested and the left is going crazy and doing crazy stuff, that means something must be going good in the country. When the left's
Amen.
upset, that means we're good. We're hitting the mark, right?
Amen. Amen.
Lord have mercy. Well, we've had a lot happen, since even the ice storm. We've got a massive snowstorm going on outside my window right now. We've already got about 3 inches on the ground here tonight, and they're saying we could get up to 3 to 8 before this is over with. Maybe isolated foot as we go into North Carolina and the Carolinas, but this time we're getting it here. We're not getting the ice, but going to be a snowy night here. Hey, it's good to see you. I do want to get your take on these riots, my friend. Look, I want to call a spade a spade. It's nothing but plain rebellion. This is nothing but insurrection. It's nothing but witchcraft that is operating in our country. And, I am appalled by the leadership. I cannot, it's sort of a sickening trend in this country. And sadly, many Christians are biting into it that, Leslie, the law keepers, in other words, the keepers of the law, those that are trying to keep the country free of crime, are being called evil. And the rapists, murderers, pedophiles, cartels, and people that are killing people, actually doing harm to people, are being called good. And, I voted for law and order. That's one of the reasons Trump has had my vote 3 times.
Amen.
And we've had a report and that crime is at the lowest level since 1900. That the homicide rate in this country has not been this low since 1900. That's 126 years. And
that's incredible.
We don't worship a man, but I give President Trump a whole lot of credit for that because he's done exactly what he said he would do. And it's just almost ungodly. It is an ungodly, wicked exercise to see those in the media, those on the left, those in some churches that do this, and redefining Christianity. Because I want to just put it on the table tonight that the God of heaven is not a lawless God. And he does not embrace lawlessness, and he does not embrace chaos. He does not embrace insurrection. He does not embrace rebellion. And that's my opening salvo. I'm going to let you take it from here. But I think that there's going to be an accounting for these riots, and it's not going to be good. But I salute what President Trump's doing. I'm all in, and I've got no sympathy for the ones that have been shot in this. I feel for their families, but they brought it on themselves. And when you go at officers and you spit and kick and threaten with guns, and you try to run over an ICE officer, you can get yourself hurt. And they did, and it's a sad situation, but ICE is not the fault. ICE is not the reason they got killed. Go ahead.
No, well, first and foremost, Alex Preddy had a death wish.
Yes, he did.
I wouldn't be surprised if it ultimately became suicide by cop. The man should have been in jail for what he did the week before. If you or I were to go up to a law enforcement officer of any kind, spit in their face and kick their, do $1,000 worth of damage on their back bumper, you and I would go to jail. And the fact that these people are being allowed to get by with absolutely anything, that's astounding. But then that you have Tim Waltz and Fry and all these other people, police chiefs, that are actually condoning this. It's an upside down world. I mean, just when you think crazy can't happen more, it does. And Renee Good, I mean, she shouldn't have hit that cop. I'm sorry. I hate that for her. I hate that their families are impacted. That guy was no angel. I mean, would you want any of those people they've been showing lately to work on you?
No.
The anesthesia,
No.
the anesthesia nurse.
No.
These are bad people.
I know they're bad.
These are.
And Leslie, that's the point. I mean, you've got, but the people that are saying those things, like these nurses that are out there saying, if we know that you're mega or we know that you're ice, we're going to put stuff in your syringe. We're going to cause you to suffocate. You had another lady down in West Palm Beach got fired tonight because she basically wished Carolyn Levitt, of course, is pregnant with her second child. And she was basically using terminology that she hoped that the baby and Caroline both died. They would rip the baby out of her wound. I mean, look, that kind of language, and it goes to question. And I saw another video too tonight. Hollywood's melting down like it's tomorrow. Kathy Griffin is basically saying we're going to go take names. Go to your neighbor's house, take names, see if there's any signs they're mega. Put their names on a piece of paper, save it for later. And when we take power again, we're basically going to come after them and hunt them down like animals. That is the mentality of the folks that the Democrat Party and the Democrat mayor, the Democrat governor, and the Democrat Attorney General of Minnesota are supporting and backing. And you cannot escape what you just said. These people, and look, at the very minimum, most of these people have got mental problems, okay? But there is a spirit of evil. There is a spirit of witchcraft over this country tonight that's got people so befoozled that they look at these things and they call it good, Leslie. They call that good.
Well, I was driving down the street the other day, and I am in my mind analyzing. I'm listening to what some of these fruitcakes are saying, and I thought, what can I say is the number one reason they think the way they do and the way we think the way they do? And the only thing that you can truly bank on is the fact that they're godless. And when you are godless, when you do not have God in your life, then it allows Satan and evil to creep in and be your guidance. And that's exactly what's happened. I mean, it's clear.
Oh, absolutely. And this is a godless exercise, and lawlessness is rebellion, and rebellion is the sin of witchcraft. I'm using a verse out of 1 Samuel 15:23. We talked about it this morning in our Bible study. And there is nowhere in the Bible that this is ordained in any fashion. And Don Lemon, goes into a church last Sunday claiming he's a journalist. And then we've got a video we're going to play after I let you go tonight of him basically planning this. He was out there planning to go in and planning with these protesters, and he was hubnubbing with them, giving them coffee, exclaiming how wonderful what they're about to do. They disrupted a church, civil rights. You cannot go into a house of worship and do this. And I tell you what, he would not have done that to a mosque. He would not have walked into a Muslim church. He probably wouldn't even walked into any other church except the one he did, because that church evidently had people in it that had ties to ICE. Right. And my question to you is, how did we get here that ICE has been so demonized, the police are so demonized? You thought we would have learned a lesson from the Summer of Love in 2020 when these cities were being burned down, and what happens when governments and leaders don't stop the rhetoric against law enforcement. It's like we don't learn a lesson in this country. We do not learn our lessons in this country.
Well, you can't call people Hitler, tell them to go kill people, and that they're evil, and that they need to be stopped. And even if you've got 1 million people that feel that way and wouldn't do anything, if you have 1% of 1%, then you have 10 or 20 or 500 lunatics that will die for the cause. And I think that's what you're seeing here. They have been armed psychologically with all of this rhetoric, all of these lies, all of this hate. And I think it goes back to Trump hate too, the Trump derangement syndrome. He has gotten in their brain to the point that there is no return. They cannot handle it. They would have done this probably if he'd been reelected too. I mean, who knows what would have happened, but I don't know, somehow making this dragging it out for 10 years versus him being in office and leaving. I think it has incited a hatred in them that I don't think you and I can understand, because we don't have hate in our heart like that.
That's correct.
We have to give Satan the credit for that I'm sad that God has allowed our country to get to this point, but we also have to be dealt with as a nation for what we've done and how we've, betrayed God and turned away from God. Just like it says in, Second Chronicles, you can't continue to do those things and not expect something to be done by God.
No, I couldn't have said that any better right there. We're definitely reaping a whirlwind with this. But, I think that you look at the concentration of Greg Gutfeld last night made a wonderful point. This is happening when there are sanctuary cities, okay? Goes back to leadership. When the leadership of the states and the cities open the door to this by saying we're not going to prosecute these criminals, because just in context, Tom Holdman yesterday offered an olive branch to Minnesota. He basically told Ellison, he said, if you'll just bring these people to the jail, okay, you go arrest them, you go do your job, bring them to the courthouse, bring them to the jails. We won't have to roam the streets no more. We'll get off your streets. We won't have these interactions. We'll just come to the jail and you won't see us and we'll be gone. See, Ellis is not going to do that. No. And because they don't want to do that. They want people dead. Look, and I know there's people out here tonight that are clenching their teeth and spitting, spewing, and cussing and everything else about what happened to Renee Good and what happened to Alex Peretti. The fact of the matter is, ICE wouldn't have even had to be on the street, Leslie, if the government of Minnesota and the law enforcement of Minnesota was doing their jobs, as well as all these other sanctuary cities. We wouldn't have to have ICE in interaction with anybody. You wouldn't need ICE if people would do their jobs and get the illegals out and get the murderers off the street, correct?
I mean, how in the world can people, normal people with a thinking brain, say, hey, I'm for the criminals on the street. I am for the rapists and the murderers. I am for that. Because that's what they're saying. They're not saying I'm for for righteousness and all this, because that isn't righteousness. Imagine if it was an American that had killed their child. Would they take that same stance? Of course not. So I don't understand the reasoning. My brain does not work in that capacity, in that way, on any level. Well, so I struggle to understand their reasoning. I mean, it's truly... I don't get it. I don't get it.
I don't get it on a natural plane, but... from a spiritual standpoint,
yes,
it is a clear indication that this is high-level witchcraft that is being released against this country. I believe, this is my opinion, but I think the Lord has sort of showed me this too, and just about things He's laid on my heart and things that I've been praying about and what I'm hearing in my spirit, is I do believe there are witches, and I think there are powerful forces that are in the satanic realm that have prayed, and they're praying against our country. They are literally throwing these curses on America. They're throwing these curses on our cities. I was watching a video tonight of these kids over in Asheville, North Carolina, just to my east, that just got out of school today. They just walked out of the school with no fear that anything would happen to them, to go and protest with ICE. They did the same thing in St. Louis. There was another couple of schools that this happened at today. It's like a daze. You look at these protesters, Leslie, it's like they are in a fog. It's like they are in a zombie movie. But that is witchcraft to me. That is control and manipulation. And you hit it a while ago. The brainwashing is coming from the media. There's no doubt about it. And the brainwashing is coming from politicians that don't want to see these illegals go. And the brainwashing is coming from Hollywood. At some point, though, all the brainwashing in the world, it still goes back down to that individual, whether they want to succumb to that brainwashing and believe what they're doing. And that's what we're seeing. But this is high-level spiritual warfare over our nation tonight. And make no mistake about it, This lawlessness is the devil's plan to destroy this country. You take away the law, buddy, you got nothing. You got nothing in your nation. You sure don't have a
I
country
know.
without
I
law.
know.
You got to have
Well,
law.
and borders, and
Yes.
yeah, and we do have a constitution. You're right. And I think this is probably one of our greatest challenges in our democracy, maybe since Lincoln. I don't know. I just think we're so close to a civil war. I think we're just a click away from having some mass, casualties like in Minnesota, and then break out in LA and Denver. And who knows? I just feel like we're in such a situation that, and I think that's why Trump sent Holman. I like Bovino. I think he was doing a great job. I think he can rub people the wrong way. I think Kristi Noem is not. I don't know that she should be the face for the things.
I think she's in over her head myself. I think Bondi is too.
Yeah. But I think Tom Holman is such a no-nonsense guy, but I think he was really smart to show his softer side yesterday.
He did.
He's talked in the past about 5-year-olds dying in his arms and all of these things. I think he's like Trump. He only wants the best for this country, and that means getting out the bad people.
But Leslie, they don't see it this way. The left does not see that what we're doing is actually humane. What ICE is doing is humane. When you take a rapist and a murderer, look, I have seen stories tonight, news stories. Look, we had a story last week. A Georgia home was broken into by an illegal alien. He raped a 10-year-old in front of her 11-year-old sister, vice versa. Tonight, this happened over in England, but the principle is the same. An immigrant raped a 12-year-old girl in the park and then called his buddies in, and they gang raped her in the park in London. And again, that's Starmer's England. But the difference in Starmer and Trump is this. That illegal alien in Georgia, he's not going to see the light of day ever again. He's going home and probably will not see the daylight, because we at least have a president over here that recognizes the evil. And look, to have a crime figure that you've got the lowest homicide rate in 100 years, that lets me know that we got the right guy in office. And I go ahead and say it tonight. If the left is melting down like they're melting down, then we should know that whatever's happening in our government is right. Because you can look at the action of the left and the opposite. If they're happy about something, we should be concerned on the right. If they're unhappy and melting down like a bunch of apes, then we should be dancing a jig in the street that we've got the right guy and he's doing the right thing.
I agree. And I think there's so much corruption. These protests were an absolute gift to Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar, because it is going to come out. And that's why I thought at first things might be resolved with Tim Walz and Trump, because I figured Trump had the ace card. He was going to say, look, Walz, unless you want to go to prison because you're complacent in all of this corruption and fraud, I thought surely that will give Trump the ace. But you know what? These people are crazy. I think he thinks he can get by with it.
No, they do.
He thinks he's going to come out unscathed, just like her. She is evil. I see her, and I said this to somebody at church the other day. The closer I get to God, and praise God, I've got a long way to go, but the closer I get to God, the more I can see the aura of evil in people. And she is one of those people. Just the spirit that she gives off. I would hate to see her in person, because I bet it's very real.
Yeah. Well, look, speaking of Waltz, look, he said tonight that he's not running for political office anymore. This is my opinion. I think what happened, I think this whole thing is a ruse. I hate to say it, and again, when you have loss of life, you've got to be very careful. People think you're gleeing about the death. We're not gleeing about the death. I'm very sad about it. But I've got my feeling about this, that it is not ISIS's fault those people got killed. What the fault is the rhetoric and the ramped up verbiage and the ramped up spirits and this emotional meltdown of the people of this country that are literally celebrating death. They are celebrating death. But let me tell you what we stopped talking about when all this started was that Somali fraud. We were en route to arrest. And what I thought today when I heard Tim Walz say what he said about I'm not running for office, I think he's pretty aware that things are about to get very bad for him very soon. He's probably not going to be able to run for office because I think that he's going to be in a prison suit. And, you know, we on the right have been screaming for this, and we need some perp walks, and we need some people in jail. Well, look, I sort of didn't have any kind of words to say about Pam Bondi last night. Well, 24 hours later, Don Lemon has been arrested, and at the same time, the FBI is down in Georgia, my home state, tonight, and they took 700 boxes of ballots, and we're about to find out what we already knew, that the Georgia election department is a bunch of fraudsters, liars, and cheats. And when the head of elections goes out, and this is what she said tonight, she says, the FBI just raided here, and they're trying to take away your vote. I bet that's what they think. No, they're not trying to take away your vote. They're trying to make sure your vote is legal. Go ahead.
Absolutely. No, that's absolutely right. I think we're going to find that. I think we're also going to find some context in that statement that Trump made saying, I want to know where those votes came from. I only need 11,000 votes. That's the difference. I want all those votes counted. This totally plays into, what we're seeing unfold is exactly what was happening. Trump knew there was a large amount of fraud, a lot more than 11,000 votes. How can 87% of everything that came in on that 2 a.m. dump was for Biden? I mean, come on. Do you really think we're that stupid?
No, they do. No, they do. They do.
Like, really, and it's one of those bitter pills. You have to swallow it. You can say, I told you so. I saw I think it was Seth Moulton, who I find absolutely repulsive. I can't believe he ever served in the armed forces because, he doesn't act like it. But he said, why are we rehashing this? This was 6 years ago, folks. I'm like, seriously, our democracy was hampered, and we didn't have a Democratic vote in Georgia, and you want us to move on?
Of course they do. No, of course they do. Hey, they didn't want us to move on in Gore. Look, 2000, the Democrats to this day believe Bush Jr. stole it from Gore. To this day, they think Trump stole it from Hillary because the media claimed that the Russians hacked the elections. But now all of a sudden, when the shoe's on the other foot, well, let's just move on from it. No, we don't need to move on it. And I don't care how long it takes. I hope we get to the truth. That's all I want. There ain't much we can do about it. I don't think anybody's going to go to jail over it because it's too late for that. But we need to know how they did it so it won't happen again. And I tell you what, who I'm holding responsible for this is Brian Kemp tonight. And Ratzenberger, the Secretary of State down there. They knew this stuff was going on. Yeah, they knew this fraud was going on. And Ratzenberger sold Trump out to Fannie Willis and said, well, he's trying to rig an election and make me find 11,000 votes. That's not what Trump was trying to do. No, what he was telling him is, like you just said, because they shut the voting booth down. I was on the air that night. We were on the air till 2 o'clock in the morning, okay? And Georgia, he was up almost by 30,000 votes in Georgia, maybe a little bit less than that. But he was up a number of votes that I felt like Georgia was in the bag, okay? In just 3 hours, from 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock, Georgia went from being in Trump's camp to being undecided. And it took them to December to find out. And what was that, 2 months after the fact, a month and a half? And then what they claimed was that the power went out, okay, in the voting area that night, and then all of a sudden, miraculously, 30,000 votes for Joe Biden. You got to be a moron to think that that vote count was 30,000 to 0. I mean, seriously?
Exactly.
Seriously?
Exactly.
But your question, and not to interrupt you, but let me say this real quick and I'll give it back to you. Your question about do they think we're stupid? They do. No, they do.
Maybe they do. Yeah. Well, I think their hate is so great because they've been so, like you said, when you call somebody a Nazi 50 times a day or 100 times a day, you hear that on CNN and MS Now and all of these other hate channels, the rhetoric. If you're a borderline lunatic, I'm telling you, that's going to send you over the edge. I mean, we have proof. We know that happens every day.
Yeah.
These people, it's like go kill baby Hitler.
Yeah.
Kill this man and things will be better. And it goes back to them not being able to lose an election either.
Yeah.
I praise God that we won every swing state. I mean, praise God, because if we hadn't, can you imagine the turmoil that if it had been a close election?
Oh, it would have been a messed up thing. The individual that's saying that the midterms are going to hold Trump accountable, you better look at your own party. Because there's going to have to be some accountability before the midterms. Trust me on this. And Trump's not done anything to be held accountable for except try to keep the crime rate down to a 100-year low. So your arrogance and your smugness, you may think it's cute. It ain't. And Trump ain't going to be resigning. Trust me on this. No, your governor in Illinois, the Pritzker, all of them, the whole bunch that's pushing these agitators and paying these agitators. And I hope to God, Leslie, I hope that they find exactly, pull this scab off. And I was telling somebody this Tuesday night, look, Trump had to be the one to pull the scab off the wound. And when you pull the scab off, people scream. Look, I've had Band-Aids and you yank that Band-Aid off and it don't feel good if it's been on a while. And bandages. But let me tell you something. There's a lot of screaming and a lot of cackling on the left tonight. And I go back and say it again tonight. The more they cackle and the more they're smug and the more they say stuff and insult the right and insult Christians, you know something? We rejoice. We rejoice. We rejoice. Because sticks and stones will break my bones. But Don Lemon's going to be in jail tonight. So none of your crap was going to hurt us.
Well, it's a start. I think we've got the Somalia thing that needs to come to light. Now, there's a main thing with Africans, I understand. The same kind of daycare fraud up in Maine. There's the Los Angeles that Dr. Oz just exposed with, 74 or some odd hospices that were set up within a 2-block radius in LA.
Absolutely.
That were scamming. There will be so many things that are going to happen in the next 6 months. Liberals, you better hang on to your hat because you're getting ready to get blown over.
Well, let me just say this. The liberals need to pace themselves. We're only in year 1, okay? We got 3 to go. They need to pace themselves. And, this arrogance about the midterms, I think the midterms are not going to be as bad for the right as people are claiming, because I think most normal thinking people, because see, Leslie, the people that are screaming the loudest about this tonight, they're a minority. They're loud because they got Hollywood, they got a press that broadcasts their crap, their own X. And I will say this to the right sometimes. I think we do ourselves an injustice by giving these people air. Because when you share something crazy that somebody does or say something that somebody says, all you do is give it oxygen.
That's true.
Let these petulant kids beat their forks on the table and spit out their peas and spit out their corns. I feel good tonight. I just, some of this stuff used to get under my skin. I just laugh at it now. I laugh at Kathy Griffin claiming that she's going to go take names. I laugh at Jane Fonda tonight saying the wrong Donald's in jail. Yeah, that's right, Jane. Keep thinking about that. Keep hoping for that. They've tried to do it about 6 or 7 times and it's failed. They tried to impeach him 3 times, it failed. They tried to shoot at him 3 times, it failed, Jane. Keep working on it. You better pace yourself. You better pace yourself, right?
Well, and we're going to have some good momentum. I was thinking about how incredibly blessed we are that we're getting ready to celebrate 250 years of freedom. And it's not been a perfect country by any stretch, but it's still the best darn place on this entire earth. And we won the lottery by being born in America. We wake up every day and we're thankful. We don't hate immigrants, but we want you to be a functioning member of our society, speak our language, get a job, don't take benefits from Americans. I mean, it's reasonable stuff. And that's the thing. But you can't have a conversation like that. I have maybe two Democratic friends that they don't agree with me, but at least we'll have dialogue. You know, most of these people, can you imagine being in a room and talking to Ethan Hawke or Jane Fonda or any of those people? They're absolute Looney Tunes. They're Looney Tunes. I don't know how they have friends. Rosie O'Donnell, I mean, she must be the most miserable human on the entire planet. Part of me feels sorry for her.
Yeah, I do too. And and again, I'm witnessing something in the chat right now. This is the left. Trump's destroying the nation. Trump's need to resign. Then they get ugly and start insulting Melania in her movie. Bye, you're gone. But see, that's what their pattern is, Leslie. They're doing the same thing with this right now. When they can't win an argument and all they got is insults, then you know you've won the argument. You know that they're on the wrong side of this. You know that the only people that's destroying this country are not ICE. They're not the lawful. No, the people that are destroying this country, that are ones applauding the murder and the raping and the pedophilia and the freaking child exploitation and the rape of children and the kidnappings and the number of DUI accidents that are tied to basically killing people because they don't know how to drive. And Trump's destroying the country? No, Trump's actually saving the country from crap like that because we elected him to make sure we are a nation of law and order. And you know something? The way I look at it, if you don't want a nation of law and order, then move to Cuba. Move to North Korea. Right. Move to Russia. And you pull this crap in one of those tyrannical countries and see what it gets you. You see what kind of action you get.
Yeah.
I'm getting fired up on a Friday. I'm getting fired up on a Friday. Go ahead.
No, that's right. Sadly, they can say what they can spew their hatred. I would also say, what's your idea to fix things? If you don't like the way things are going, what's your plan? Share it with me. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk about what's working, what's not working, what we can do better. But don't use the F-bomb every time you look at somebody that you don't agree with. That's their pat answer for everything. F this and F that. And, and if not that, you're an effing Nazi. So I am so fed up with their inability to use any words. Can they use
That's all they
their
do,
words?
Leslie. That's all they do.
Yeah.
They call names. That's all they can do. They've got no stance. They cannot defend this. They claim they do. I've heard nothing but lies. Lies, lies, lies. Renee Good was not gunned down. She was shot while trying to run an ICE officer over. Alex Peretti, you mentioned it a while ago earlier. And this is the one thing I don't understand. He should have been arrested. Because if he'd have been arrested a week before, he would have been alive tonight. And right. They should not put up with it. And if I'm ICE, and I'm with you about Holman, I felt like he hit a perfect tone yesterday. He didn't come in there with guns a-blazing. But, can I tell you something that happened after all that happened? Tim Walz went out there yesterday after the olive branch was extended to him, and he said that we need to have civil war. And Frey did the same thing at the mayor's convention. Yeah. Well, if this happens in our city, it'll happen to yours. Well, what's happening in your city, Mayor? They're getting criminals off the street. It needs to come to other cities.
Well, one thing that's happened, this happened in Houston. I read where 4,200 illegal aliens were taken out in the last year out of Houston, out of the city of Houston. Do you know how many riots there were? That's a big fat zero. Do you know how many were taken out in Dallas? Almost 5,000.
I know.
How many riots?
Zero. Zero.
We don't have, we just have to worry about the lunatic Chicago's and LA's. Normal places, they don't even have to be red. Normal cities, even if they do have some Democratic leadership, they're following the law. This sanctuary city crap has got to stop. That's the first step. It's got to stop. It's got to become illegal to harbor criminals, period.
Let me ask you this.
Are a criminal if
you're right. No,
came
you're
across
right.
the border.
You're right. I mean, look, everything you're saying is true. I do want to ask you about Don Lemon tonight. Do you think that it's already out there tonight? Harvey Levin from TMZ, he's a joke. But
yeah,
he's out there screaming that there's a freedom of the press that this arrest violates. And I want to make it clear that Don Lemon was no longer a journalist. He can't have it both ways. He can't say that he's an impartial journalist and then be out there saying to the group beforehand, let's go in and interrupt this church service as a group, and giving him coffee and rounding him up. He knew good and well what he was doing. You can't have it both ways. Of course he did. You can't have that both ways. How
did he get on the secret thread? How did he know where to go? But more importantly, like he said to the guy that when he was passing out coffee, this guy starts attacking him. He says, "You're a journalist. Get out of here." He goes, "I'm not a journalist. I'm with you." Those were his exact words. "I'm with you." So what does that say? He's there protesting.
Right.
He could have said, "Hey, I'm a journalist, but I really understand why your side thinks that way," or "I'm really, I can't share it, but no, I'm a journalist here." No, that's not what he said. And then he was stupid enough to go and repeat it again and add to it the next day.
Do you think he did it deliberately, though? Do you think he did all this deliberately to get the attention? I think what's happened, this is my gut. I'm a little cynical these days about stuff like this, just like I'm cynical about the attack on Elon Omar. I no more believe that was a legitimate attack. I may be wrong about that.
No,
I think so. Don Lemon is enjoying every second of this attention, and this is why we should not give these you-know-whats the oxygen, because every time you give these nuts oxygen, they do more stuff. And I think his career is more dead than his ratings were on CNN, and I think that this is a way that he's going to resurrect his aura or resurrect his name and brand, but I hope they throw the book at him. I do. He violated those people's civil rights, Leslie. He violated their civil rights.
There's no question. They were blocking doors.
Yes.
And I was rewatching the Lemon thing tonight. He was literally within a breath's hair of that pastor's face. He was in his face. And the guy is continually repeating, "Look, I'm here for Jesus. We're here to celebrate. I have to watch my flock." And the man he didn't even push his hand out. He put his hand up by him, like, "Hey man, back off." And Don Lemon screams, "Oh, don't touch me." I mean, that was
I saw that.
Fake.
Yeah.
That was so fake and so contrived. That incensed me. You're there to cause trouble. How did you end up going right to the pastor and talking to him while people are screaming and children are crying and people can't get to the door for the basement where their little kids are? Yeah. A woman breaks her arm running out. Hey, what about that? You chose to be there. You chose to be part of the fight. Just the fact that you broadcasted it doesn't give you a free pass.
No.
That's not the way it worked. That's not what he violated. If no one else, he violated that pastor's civil rights. The pastor told him you need to go, and he wouldn't do it.
And whether he was doing that as a journalist or not does not matter. Because freedom of the press does not give you a right to violate people's rights. You do not have a right to storm a house of worship to make a point. I don't care how you disagree with the church and what you say. You do not have a right to do that. I don't care what license you think you've got. And this is what burns me up with these folks. This entitled, self-absorbed, petulant, It's like you're dealing with a bunch of high schoolers, and again, a bunch of middle schoolers, a bunch of first graders. I got a 6-year-old grandson that's got more manners and understands etiquette and manners and respect for authority than these buffoons do that are adults, that are acting like petulant kids. And you know what my mom used to do with us kids when we turned petulant? She beat our blanks. Okay? And we got beat as kids. And this is generation that's out there doing this is a bunch of individuals that didn't get their butts whipped when they did their P's and did their forks. And it means some good old-fashioned discipline would have gone a long way in taking care of this rebellion, because that's how you handle rebellion in a child. And you know something? If it takes these people going to jail, it takes these people getting fired, if it takes these people experiencing what they're experiencing on these streets, and, you know, again, if they want to act the fool, act the fool. But you start threatening ICE officers, you start threatening cops, you start becoming a threat to society, you start becoming a threat to people, you're going to pay a price for it. And I'm not going to shed a tear for you.
What would happen if I went out and threw a frozen water bottle last week at a group of cops that were trying to do anything? I would be so locked up so quickly. They are trying to get criminals. You would say, okay, you can protest, but hey, we're getting somebody that raped an 8-year-old girl here. Actually, he's done it twice, and he's came in here illegally under Joe Biden. Let's get him off the street. I just can't imagine standing up for that. Someone explain to me how that is. It gets back to being demonic. It has to be demonic because there is no other answer.
Well, I think Elaine Willard's question is probably true. She says if he gets sentenced to prison, she'll be surprised. And that's the other thing about this. I don't want him to be arrested for show, okay? Just so we can go on Fox News tonight and be excited that Don Lemon's arrested. I want him in prison. I do not. He does not need to pass go. He does not need to collect $200, because you see, if you don't send a message that this is unacceptable behavior in a civilized society, and as last time I checked, we're still Americans. We are still civilized, and whether the left wants to do it or not, and whether the right wants to do it, some on the right want to do it or not, we're going to have law and order in this country. We're going to have
That's
it.
Right.
That's what we voted for, Leslie. That's what we voted for.
I'm sick of the punies that
Come on.
Oh, well, I don't like how Trump is doing that. He's offending people, and big deal. That's what you voted for. Suck it up and deal with it. Be happy that he's doing what you voted him to do. I'm sorry. I hate that people are dying. I hate that people are getting hurt. But you know what? You've got to draw the line and do your job. And I'm with you. I'm furious.
But if I had been Holman yesterday, look, and Holman handled himself as well as, again, I think that he diffused the situation. But honestly, I didn't think Bongino or Don Gino, whatever his last name is, I always get these names mixed up. But I don't think he was doing that bad a job. And Leslie, you know, we've just reached this wussy stage in America that when people talk straight to us, we just can't handle it. This country has gone. We've become so weak, and we have become so. It's like we have literally become to a place that the truth sounds like hate. The truth does not register with us. We would rather somebody sit there and lie to us and make us feel good than tell us the truth and us look inside our heart and get it fixed. And see, that is a dangerous place to be. That's a dangerous place to be individually. It's a dangerous place to be as a nation. It's a dangerous place for any government to get like that. And I go back to this. I've been saying this a little bit all week. None of this stuff that's going on in this country right now, especially Minnesota, would be going on in any third world country tonight. So let me tell you something. It wouldn't be just a few. Look at Iran. Look at that tyrannical regime and what happens when people's marching through the streets and playing and doing what they're doing against their government, which they should be, because it's a jihadist, brutal regime that has been oppressing its people for decades. They killed 86,000, that's the latest figure, 86,600 protesters in Iran. I wonder what would happen tonight if these protesters was to go do what they're doing over there or any other third world country to see what would happen to them. We're the only country that tolerates this stuff. And I'm not advocating that we throw everybody in jail, but when you start threatening people, because we do have a First Amendment, we do have a First Amendment. I'll agree with Harvey Levin, but what Don Lemon did was not the First Amendment. We do have right to the press, but what Don Lemon did was not freedom of the press. It was him, in itself tyranny. And I'll just sort of leave it at that because I could keep going on about that. I do want to ask you about the Nazi thing. Is it not anti-Semitic to you to have these people compare ICE to Nazis and the Holocaust and make these ungodly comparisons? I think that's one of the most demonic things about all this. That
I want the Jews to stand up and demand. Yes, I want the Jews to stand up and make a stand and say, you will not do this. 6 million of my people were murdered, brutally murdered, starved to death, and then gassed. Don't you dare say somebody that's enforcing the law is like a Nazi or Hitler. I think, unfortunately, too, we've lost the sanctity of what it means to be Jewish and to have been, ridiculed and killed by the Nazis. It loses its meaning. Oh, he's a Nazi. It used to be he was a jerk. He was an a-hole. He was this. Now we're Nazis. And I can't remember who, maybe it was Jesse Kelly. He was making a point. He said, one day you're talking to Hitler and we're dealing with Nazis. And he said the next day Tim Walz is talking to Trump. And why is Walz talking to Trump if he's a Nazi and he's Hitler? He said, I'm confused. What kind of a message do you people, are you not smart enough to see there's something wrong here with this picture? I thought that was a wonderful analogy because it is.
I'm going to say this, and I always say this to everybody, and I think you're asking a legitimate question, but I've got to say this about why people do it. I think that is a question that we cannot answer other than one thing, and that is there is a spiritual deception and a spiritual delusion and a spiritual fog on the hearts of millions of people. Look, we got 350 million people in this country, okay? I would dare say that 10% of this country is probably actually born again. And even that number, we don't really know that number, but I think it's relatively small. We've got a nation, Leslie, that is trying to throw off the restraints of God. They're trying to throw off the restraints of morality. They're trying to throw off the restraints of lawfulness. They want this lawlessness. They thrive on it. I saw somebody post a while ago that they're doing this to thrive on chaos, and they think by their chaos they're going to control the government, and I totally agree with that. The more chaos, the more rebellion, the more insurrection, the more that they do. They believe that it's going to crumble the government. And then you start getting into these threats, and you start getting into these things. But to ask why these people do it, you can't answer that, and I can't answer that. Because only God knows their heart. And they are so deceived that they believe what they're doing is right. That scares me more than what they're doing. That they believe that they're doing a righteous cause, including your good friend Hillary Clinton tonight. I'm sure you saw her comment that she's likening the Christian values. Did you see that? She said that those of us with Christian values should really be upset about this. No, Hillary, I got Christian values. I'm not upset about the ICE people upholding the law because you need to be in an orange jumpsuit, you and Bill both.
Oh, my gosh.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no. Will anything happen to them, do you think, on those? No.
Nope.
I don't either.
Nope.
I don't either. And, they've gotten so old, too. I think it's like with Joe Biden, there's just, we're going to give you a pass. And I have to be happy with the fact that they will both meet their reckoning someday. But, yeah. And then, of course, the flip side to the Minnesota problem. Okay, let's make LA and Minneapolis, maybe another couple of cities. You can throw New York in there if you want. let's make those the sanctuary cities. And if you are an illegal alien, you must go to one of those places and you live within their boundaries.
They wouldn't
We
do
will
it.
leave you alone. Now, we won't let you cross state lines. We'll throw you in jail if you come out as an illegal. And we're going to live peacefully. But you stay there, and of course it's going to cause problems, but it wouldn't take too long to those people. I mean, obviously this Somalian fraud's been going on 10 years or more, and they've known about it. So apparently they're okay with corruption. It greases the wheels of their government.
I got you about 10 more minutes. I want to quick fire things I want to ask you about to get off of Don Lemon finally. Do you think this shutdown, this partial shutdown, gets fixed Monday? Are you confident we're going to see an end to this real quick? This is just a technicality, because I understand last night that they had a plan in place, that they've got an agreement in place, but they just couldn't get the Senate to be there tonight to vote for it. Are you thinking that this is going to be just a blip and we'll be back to normal Monday?
I do, but I'm very disappointed that the Republicans caved and allowed the funding to be put on hold and negotiated later. That's a joke. I hate that. I wish, I don't know. Do you think the Democrats have been blamed or the Republicans for the last shutdown?
Well, the people that should be blamed never are. I would say this. No. I think look, Leslie, this is the thing that this scares me more than anything else about this country. We got a bunch of loons. I'm sorry.
I know we do.
We have got an asylum, and we've literally got the inmates running the prison in this country and running the asylum in this country. And there is a spiritual declension that has reached such a level that good is being called evil. Evil is being called good. And it doesn't matter who is actually to blame and who's not. Perception's everything. But I'll tell you about the funding. I'll just say this about the funding. What I heard was the reason the Republicans did cave, they had already put enough money in that big, beautiful bill that they've got ICE financed for a year. They've got it financed till, I think, at least next fiscal year when they come up for the budget again. So I don't think it was good that they caved, but I don't think they would have caved so quickly had they not done that. And I read that in a report that it was almost like, okay, if this keep the government open, we'll give you this, but knowing good and well, ICE is still going to get their money, because I don't think they would have done it otherwise. I would hope not, but we'll just see how that happens. What about this call from Minnesota to be part of Canada? I'll let you wrap us up on this. What's your thoughts on that? I'll say, adios, baby, if that's what you want. Enjoy Canada.
Yes, absolutely. I vote yes. I mean, be part of that. Start your own country. I don't care. You can be with California. Too bad geographically it's not very good for some of these states because they're not close to Canada. But, yeah. I mean, I would be all for that. We don't get any electoral votes from there. So, yeah, bring it on.
Yeah. Well, it is. It's going to be an interesting time. I tell you, though, I do feel grieved in my heart tonight. I just do, because I see our nation unraveling. And, Leslie, there's no nation on this planet. There's no empire. Look, we're 250 years this year, 250 years old. We're on borrowed time as it is, and empires like ours do not last more than what we're at right now, usually.
Yeah.
But this lawlessness is going to be our downfall. Ultimately, the lawless spirit, these acts of demonizing the law. And I've got a dear friend down under Cleo. She said something to me today, and I'll said it to the Bible students this morning. I'll say it again tonight. I think if I was President Trump, sometimes you got to have some tough love. And I would tell Holman, Waltz and Ellison and Frey won't ice off your streets. Then let Minneapolis have their lawless utopia. You know, the people of Virginia tonight, who elected basically a radical communist as their governor, they're out there complaining tonight about their energy costs. And they're out there complaining that she's been I'm not saying she's to blame. She's only been in office for a few weeks. But I hate to tell them, the complaints are about to start. I hear New Yorkers starting to complain about Mondami. And guess what? You voted for him. You voted you voted for Span Bagel or whatever her name is in Virginia. You get what you vote for. And the Minnesotans, you voted for Tim Walz. You voted for
That's right.
Ellison. You voted for Frey in Minneapolis. Smoke up. You about to enjoy your utopia. I think Trump should let this thing get so bad where the people of Minnesota get what they want. And you know, it reminds me. I tell you what, it reminds me of in the Bible. It reminds me of what Moses did at the foot of Mount Sinai when he came down and he saw the Israelites worshiping that golden calf. God got so angry. Moses got angry. Basically, several 100,000 died that day. And but he took that golden calf, he busted it up, put it in water, he busted it to powder, made it in water, and he made Israel drink of it. And you know, I think sometimes that God has to allow us to drink of our own idol and our own folly for it to get our attention. And I hate to see that we're going to that direction, but I don't see any other way that it cannot get people's attention. And even that is not going to fully get people's attention.
No, and it's not all of Minnesota. You know, it's like these really radical parts of, you know, New York, upstate New York, and some of these places, even upstate California. There's a lot of red places there. There is a lot of red, but you wouldn't know about it.
I'll agree. No, I'll agree. But I will say this about the Minnesota situation. Unfortunately, when you have a majority of the people, though, voting for these kind of people, the whole state suffers. And it's not fair. I mean, I know that because I know that there's not everybody. I got some dear friends in New York City. I love them. They're family to me. And they did not vote for Mondami. But they're suffering because that others, there was a majority of people in New York that didn't even go vote. But it was unfortunate the way that the election played out there. And he got some headwinds behind him. And as much as I like Curtis Stilwell was he just wasn't
He was never going to win.
He was never going to win. It didn't matter who ran against him. And Cuomo, I almost think, was put in there deliberately to cause this avalanche to go to Mondami. I do. I may be wrong about that. But anyway, buddy, it's been good. I've got you. I've had you for an hour and 15. You got any final thoughts? Anything you want to say? Thank you. This goes by fast when we talk like this. We need to we need to get us a Mac and Mill radio show or something. I think that'd be pretty good. The Mac or the Leslie Mac show or something like that.
Will you come up with that and I'll do it?
Sounds good. Well, if we can get a radio station and get some sponsors, we're going to do it. I think it feels like we've been talking 15 minutes. We've been going an hour and 15. So it's good when we can do that. It.
And it sounds like you had some big libs write in, and I'm glad you set them straight. Like I said, you come up with your plan. What is your plan to make this world better? What is your plan to solve this crisis we have?
They don't have one.
No, of course they don't.
All they've got is insults. All they've got is making fun, Nazism, trashing churches, trashing Christians, trashing Trump, trashing the government, trashing law enforcement, trashing ICE. That's the liberals' playbook. That's all they do. That's all they do.
Let me just end tonight then to say, in some ways, we are the luckiest people in the world because we are not burdened by we are not unburdened by what has been. So we could have Kamala, and this could not be very pretty at all. So I thank God. I think God saved Trump for those 4 years. I just have to believe God had a hand in this because it's so bad now. I don't know if anybody else could have helped save this country. I really don't.
Yeah.
You know, and Joe Biden did terrible things and he made things a lot worse, but we were still on track to get really bad with the riots and, you know, the George Floyd, everything going on with that. Trump is the right man at the right time. And we need to be grateful for that.
I said that this morning. I mean, these people that trash Trump all the time and, just make fun of him and say all sorts of vile, ugly lies and innuendo and all this stuff. The left, that's what their playbook is, but there's people on the right that do it too. There's Christians that do it. And I want to shake a knot in these Christians and say, do you not realize who we could have had God not intervened in this country and showed mercy to us in November of 24? Where would we be a year into a Kamala Harris presidency tonight? Me and you may not be on this show, buddy. Me and you may not even be able to do this network and do this interview tonight. You know that.
No. Oh, absolutely. I mean, yes, I thank God for that. And that's what I hope, and I have to believe, because I know a local pastor here that started Pastors for Trump, and he believes that Satan is just throwing up. Trump is just zooming down the highway and barrels are flying on each side, and it's just Satan doing everything he can to stop what Trump's doing. And I believe that's true.
I'll agree.
I think that's what's happening.
I'll agree. But as I said, I think we need to dance a jig tonight. Look, the more these orangutans, and I hate to use that, I hate to be disparaging, but it's like a class of kindergartners. They used to substitute teach, and Chris tried.
That's a hard
Chris one time in a kindergarten class, and I was like, I think I'm going to go to the high school next. I'm going to try for the high school, but it's like a bunch of kindergartners that can't get their way, okay? And you have to sometimes let the petulant kids stomp and scream and do their thing, because it ain't going to change nothing. And if they think that Trump's going to back down and stop upholding the law, Trump ain't got nothing to lose. He's a lame duck president. This was the libs' worst nightmare. There's nothing they can do. And, these people that are smugly saying, well, the midterms are going to stop him, well, good luck with that, okay? Good luck with that. We'll see about that. Now, we on the right had better get out and get voting, and we need to pull our weight and do what we're supposed to do. But I think the majority of the people in this country, Leslie, they're not unhappy with what they're seeing with Trump. I think that the media tries to tell us that, and I think that the liberal press tells us that, and woke DEI Christians tell us that, and DEI pastors tell us that. But I'm going to tell you something. The heart and soul of this country is a true church. And a true church, true believers, they embrace lawfulness. They do not embrace lawlessness.
Just like God, gave out the laws in Leviticus, many of them are still, they're hallmarks of our system. And, it goes back to the Magna Carta, and, of course that was long after, but God has given us guides and a guidepost where we need to go and what we need to do since the beginning of time. So it's not like we're doing something outlandish or crazy. You have to have laws and you have to have borders. Those are
totally agree.
So
Good deal,
it was lovely to talk to you.
You too.
I'm so
we'll have to get this Mac and Les show, the Leslie Mac show, or the Mac Milwee show, or something like that going. I got to find us an outlet to have us, but we'll do that. Sounds good. Listen, I'll see you soon. We're coming to Tulsa this spring for another conference, and I'll see you soon, friend.
Well, I'll be there. Okay.
Much love.
Thank you for
have a good night
me.
now.
Okay.
Good night. Bye. Leslie Milwee, everybody. Put some fire. Put some fire in that house. Oh, 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 my goodness. My goodness. Let's see here. We're so grateful to have you tonight, and we're going to we're going to take your questions here. It's right at 10:30. So, is it 10:30? Yes, it's 10:40. So I'm going to go about 25 more minutes. We'll wrap this up tonight. We normally would be doing a late show anyway, but I'm so grateful Leslie could come on. We didn't really have a guest until late, and she did an excellent job. We got an excellent crowd in the house tonight, too. We want to welcome some of our new listeners to you. Yes, we get this wild every night. We have faith shows we invite you to on Wednesday, Sunday morning, Sunday night. It'll bless you, encourage you. Bible studies in the morning. It's the Faith Network. We are conservative, but we do the news, too, and we're grateful for all you. Good to see old Tim Neal in the house, and Elaine said, Chris, don't. Insult monkeys. Stop insulting monkeys. My apologies to the real orangutans, Elaine. My apologies to the real orangutans. Folks, you know, I get grieved. I've learned not to be offended at this stuff anymore. The Lord's done a lot of changing to me through these 8 years on this show. This is hard to believe. We've been going 8 years and still at it and still maintain an audience every night. And you all have just been a bunch of jewels. And, you know, I don't mind you coming in here and expressing a difference, but if you're rude and hateful, we don't tolerate that. This is why we have a safe haven here. We're not going to let you be ugly. You're just not going to be ugly. You can be disagreeable and be respectful, and that's okay. But you're not going to be ugly and hateful. And but over the most part, you in good company here. You're in good company here. Good to see everybody in the house tonight. Thank you, Elaine, for the laugh. I needed that. Oh, Lord have mercy. Oh, my goodness. All righty. Let me see what we got here. Let me get my glasses on so I can see what I'm doing tonight. I do have a few videos I want to play for you tonight. Are you grateful you're with us tonight? I'm so grateful that you're here. It's been a crazy day, crazy week in the country. I got to play you this. This is a little light. It's Friday night. You're going to like this. This is to all the climate changers that are claiming the earth is warming up. I've got 5 inches of snow, going to have almost a foot out here in my front yard and backyard before this night's out. But John Rich wrote a song this week, and he dedicated it to Al Gore. He dedicated this to Al Gore, and I thought this would be an appropriate Friday night smile.
20 years ago, a rich fat man from Tennessee told the world the ice caps would all melt into the sea, and gasoline and diesel would be the end of you and me. Now the fat man burns $100 bills, laughing while we freeze. Hey, Al Gore, are you still sure the planet's burning up? 'Cause everywhere I go, it's awfully cold and the pipes are freezing shut. And in my house, when I lay down, I can almost see my breath. Yeah, global warming is freezing us to death.
Global warming is freezing us to death.
Al and all his experts had to save us from ourselves, so they made us drive electric cars and put windmills everywhere. Well, I guess they did too good a job, 'cause just look around my town, 'cause the ice is piling up and now the trees are falling down. Hey, Al Gore, are you still sure the planet's burning up? 'Cause everywhere I go, it's awfully cold and the pipes are freezing shut. And in my house, when I lay down, I can almost see my breath. Global warming is
Freezing us to death. I'll join in with that, John. Warming is freezing us to death. Somebody needs to put some fire in that house for that one tonight. That's a good one. That's a good one. By the way, John Rich is not too happy with the mayor of Nashville tonight because of their response to the ice storm last week that crippled Nashville, Western Tennessee, northern Mississippi. And we bore the brunt of it here. I'm in East Tennessee, but the western part, still, some of the folks are without power and so forth. By the way, when Don Lemon is going to be telling you that he was just there as an innocent journalist, over the weekend, last weekend at that church. Roll tape.
Into Minneapolis a little bit ago and did some reconnaissance on the ground. I'm speaking to an organization there that...
Now, he's doing some reconnaissance on the ground. So he's rounding these people up to go into this church. But he's claiming that this was just spontaneous, that he was just there to cover this. He didn't know these people. Do these people not know this stuff is recorded? Do these people not understand these things don't get deleted?
It's gearing up to for resistance and protest. I've been pleasantly surprised to see the community coming together. Diverse community. If you see this, when we first pulled up, we're like, wait a minute, which operation are we at? And as it turns out, because we're like, well, this is kind of MAGA coded, right? So the American flag or whatever, but these are resistance protesters. They're planning an operation that we're going to follow them on. I can't tell you exactly what they're doing, but it's called Operation Pull Up. And it's Takima Armstrong, and she has been doing this since George.
He's giving details that only he would know if they had coordinated this with him. So he talked to somebody, and let me rewind that back, because he's going to tell you that some of this is based upon some folks that was behind the George Floyd riots of 2020. Go figure that, right?
Operation Pull Up, and it's Takima Armstrong, and she has been doing this since George Floyd, Dante Wright, and others, where they surprise people, catch them off guard, and hold them to account. And so that's what we're doing here. And then after we do this operation, you'll see it live. And these operations are surprise operations. Again, I can't tell you where.
And the rest is history. He's under arrest tonight. He should be. I can't even play the video of this because there's so much vulgarity in it. But I want you to know that I'm not sure where this happened. I think this was up north. This may be in Minnesota too. But tonight, this is from the Climate Defiance X account. Don't you love these people? I just swear, if they only knew. Carol, I'm going to read your comment in a minute about the crazy. I think that was cute. He said, we confronted Tom Suzy. He is one of the 7 Democrats costing the decisive votes to increase ICE funding by some astronomical figure. Folks, we don't even have that much money in the world. Look at that, zeros. That's almost, look at that. Do they not know what they're doing? That's $10 zillion. So, look, if you're going to be stupid and rude, pick a struggle, okay? At least learn how to write numbers. Don't be both. Don't be rude and hateful and be stupid too and ignorant. And folks, I'm just calling it like it is tonight. But these are the kind of people that are protesting. And hideous, grotesque, fascist-loving coward. This man has blood on his hands. We will not forget. We will not forget. He's a Democrat, by the way. He's a Democrat. And I would play the video, but when I played it, there's about 100 F-bombs in about 3 seconds. Leslie sort of pointed that out tonight. That's all they do, too. Drop profanity, drop the F-bomb, drop profanity like you ain't never seen before. But that was in, I think, Minnesota tonight. This is Asheville, North Carolina today. The kids just decided they wanted to walk out. Here's the video of it. That's a high school in Asheville. That again is the byproduct of a society that has parents that decided that good old-fashioned butt whippings is not the way to rear your child. I'm going to tell you something. If I'd have done that as a kid, I wouldn't have been able to sit down for 6 months. And I'll tell you what would have happened. We didn't have cell phones in my day, but if I had a cell phone, the cell phone would have been gone. My privileges would have been gone. I wouldn't have seen the light of day for a year. My dad and mom didn't put up with stuff like this. They just didn't. You know, I had good parents. They were not strict on us, but they just did not put up with disrespect. They did not put up, that's disrespect. Folks, that's rebellion right there. That's rebellion. If I was the principal of that school, and now chances are the principal probably let him do it. That may be the issue. But if I would have been the principal of that high school, every one of those kids that walked out today of class, bye-bye. Your services are no longer needed in the school. Go get your education somewhere else because you're not coming back here. Now, I'd have been sued by 100,000 people, but that's okay. What is that movie, Stand By Me, Joe Clark? Joe Clark was the greatest principal in America's history. He wasn't a perfect man, but he knew how to handle vagrants just like this. But that's real time. That's not a Photoshop video. That's in Nashville, North Carolina. This guy was really being ugly, saying anti-Semitic slurs, and the guy was Jewish, by the way. Tom, he had a kippah on. Oh, it was ugly. I wished I may post the video in our Telegram room if you want to go listen to it, but I'll just leave it at that. You don't want to listen to it tonight. But let me get Don Lemon's picture off. Let me see this. I want to say this is a great discussion today with Jake Tapper on CNN. Jake's trying to get this guy to claim that the ICE agents violated Renee Good's First Amendment rights and also Alex Peretti's First Amendment rights. But I want you to listen to the guy, a former DOJ official. He handed it right back to Jake. This is the liberal media that's causing people to think the way they are.
So you have an issue with the First Amendment. You don't think that people should be exercising their First Amendment rights to speak about policies that they don't like. You have a more of a problem with that than you have with people killing American citizens.
See, right there. You have a problem with the First Amendment more than you have with people killing American citizens. Nobody was arbitrarily killing American citizens, folks. They handled a situation in both cases where the ICE officers' lives were being threatened and in danger. But see, Jake tries to make this into a First Amendment thing. Harvey Levin was doing that tonight on TMZ, claiming that Don Lemon had a First Amendment right and a Second Amendment right and a Fourth Amendment right for freedom of the press to go into that church. He did not have that right. When you start threatening cops and you start doing the things you do and breaking the law, your rights. I'm sorry, friend. I'm sorry. Adios. You put yourself in a place that your rights don't mean jack.
Did I get that right?
Jay, do you actually think you have a First Amendment right to blow a whistle in the ear of law enforcement, to disobey a lawful command from law enforcement, to interfere with a law enforcement investigation, to carry a gun without a proper ID or license as is required under Minnesota law, and then to violently resist arrest? You think you have a First Amendment right to do all that, Jay?
Yep. Way to go. That's exactly how I answered it. Jake, First Amendment rights don't give you a right to shoot cops and wave guns at cops. It don't give you a right to take your car and ban it. I'm going to run over an ICE agent and I'm going to protest. No, it don't give you a right, Jake. Liberalism is a mental disorder. Liberalism is a mental disorder. By the way, while we're talking about disorders, this lady right here, Buck Sexton, my dear buddy, met Buck at CPAC here a few years ago. Jimmy Kimmel won't be crying about this. Neither will Natalie Portman, who's crying tonight. Elizabeth Warren's crying. Molly Ringwald is crying. Kathy Griffin's crying. Jane Fonda's crying tonight. Hillary Clinton's even crying about all these sad things that ICE agents are doing. They won't even mention this. In fact, they don't care about the killing at all. We all know why. This was today. South Carolina woman was fatally shot. These monsters set her on fire. She was ambushed by a trio. You know what she was doing? She was meeting to buy a puppy. She was meeting somebody and they ambushed her on a road, that road right there. And she was burned to death and murdered. Now, I don't see Bruce Springsteen tonight writing a song about the death of this lady, this young lady. I have not heard anything in the media about it. Not heard any of these left-wing loons talk about the crime. You know, I've not heard Bruce Springsteen mention one time the 11-year-old that's been raped in Georgia. Georgia's my home state. I'm so ashamed of the leadership there. I'm appalled at the leadership. But it's amazing how the left never, ever, ever, ever talks about this. Her memory will be forgotten, but we don't need to forget it. That's out of the New York Post, by the way. They even picked up the story up in New England. Burned to death. Burned to death. I'm waiting for Bruce to write a song about that. Here's a lady talking about these nurses that are threatening to kill you if you're MAGA. Let me just put a little wisdom and a little suggestion to you before you go to the doctor. You better make sure your nurse ain't a liberal, because they're out there threatening. If they find out you're MAGA, you're probably not getting out of that hospital alive. I'm just saying, it's happening. Roll the tape.
Hey, you guys. So this is not a political post. This is a humanity and professionalism reminder to my fellow healthcare professionals. You cannot wish death upon people and then post it to the internet. Look at this.
All the medical providers, grab some syringes with needles on the end. Have them full of saline, or succinylcholine, whatever. That will probably be a deterrent.
So this provider was encouraging the use of a medication called succinylcholine. And succinylcholine is an anesthesia drug that we use to cause paralysis in our patients when needed. So essentially, she is asking for this person to be suffocated alive because you would not be able to breathe, you would not be able to move, you wouldn't even be able to blink. So you would suffocate alive. This is not acceptable behavior. As medical professionals, our job is to take care of everyone and anyone, regardless of their race, religion, creed, gender, sexual orientation, political affiliation, whatever it is. So please stop taking videos of yourselves in your scrubs, wishing harm upon people. All you are doing is feeding hysteria and causing further mistrust in the medical system.
Well, I'll finish her statement. We already mistrust the medical system. This don't help. I'm sorry, lady. I don't know who you are. Nice video, but we don't trust you anyway. Already we don't trust you. I don't. But anyway, but folks, this seriously, it's happening. There's been several nurses that have done this, and they've all been fired. I will play this. I can't even play all of this, but this is the lady that made the threat to Caroline Leavitt. Language alert. And I know that we've got new listeners in. We can't control the videos, what's on these videos, but I think she says a few words here. So if you're sensitive to that, hold your ears. But this is what was put out there. She got fired tonight. This was 2 days ago. She got fired. She's in West Palm Beach.
As a labor and delivery nurse, it gives me great joy to wish Caroline Leavitt a 4th degree tear. I hope
a 4th degree tear. A 4th degree tear is actually when you're pregnant. That is as good as saying, I hope you lose your baby and you yourself are hurt and killed. Now she's going to say a little ugly word right here. I'm going to move that away.
If you see me on TikTok this week begging for money, it's because I got fired for telling ICE to fuck off.
Our ICE agent brings some X-Lax and put it in their drinks. Medical providers, grab some syringes with needles on the end. Have them full of saline or succinylcholine, whatever. She is emerging into this world through Caroline's geriatric tech garage that she tears her from bow.
I can't even play all that. I did play the part I did to let you know. That's just a potpourri. There's about 7 or 8 of them. And folks, that's how dirty and nasty this has gotten. That you've got healthcare professionals basically putting targets on the backs of people they don't agree with. And God help us that we already are scared to death of what's going to happen to us in a hospital. But to have to worry and ask your nurse, hey, are you sort of ask their political persuasion, are you okay with Trump? Are you okay with the country? Before you stick that shot in me, or before you take my blood, or before you do something, you might want to ask, okay? You might want to ask. I'm just saying. This is pretty sick stuff. This is some women. I'm going to take your questions after this. We got a couple more videos. This is some women that let you know how they feel about abortion. It ain't good, but roll the tape.
Abortion is an act of love.
Abortion is an act of love.
Abortion is an act of love.
When I first heard the slogan that abortion is an act of love, I retracted just a little. And then I started thinking about my sister's story, and I started thinking about individual case stories and saving lives. And
abortion does not save lives. That's a lie of the devil. That's a lie of the devil. That's a lie of the left. The lies, the level of witchcraft, folks, this is high level, supernatural, high level, in the highest levels of the spirit realm, witchcraft over our country tonight. For people to believe this and think this is something demonic on a level that as we get closer in these end times, and we're in the end times tonight, it's going to get worse. Roll tape.
Saving futures. That abortion can be the most loving act that we can have.
My abortion was an act of love. The decision we made was with her in mind this whole time. It was a decision made out of love.
Abortion is an act of love. Self-love, if nothing else. You have to love yourself.
The patients that walk into the clinic are more than just patients. They're people.
people that seek abortion are intelligent, they're responsible, and the stigma against people seeking health care is got.
It's not health care. That's another lie. You've heard so many lies in that first minute there, you can't shake a stick at them. It's not love. It's not health care. There is nothing redeemable about it. You're not saving lives. You don't put yourself in God's place. You don't have the right to determine if the baby dies or the mama dies. That's in God's hands.
If people hear the words abortion as an act of love, I just ask them again, look at the individual.
Look at the individual. I am looking at the individual. And the individual that kills a baby is a murderer. And the doctor that does it is a murderer. How's that for you? Is that individual enough for you? Is that straight enough for you? Have we reached a place that we've become so desensitized to this stuff that we can't even look at it as murder anymore? The blood of 83.5 million babies is screaming to God from the ground tonight, folks. I don't care if Roe v. Wade's down or not, and it's illegal in the nation federally. It's still being done in states. Now, it's under Trump, the money has dried up, and a lot of Planned Parenthood clinics are being dried up because you got a president that cares about life. You got a president that cares about protecting the babies. You got a president that cares about protecting people. That's why he's basically keeping the law down to levels that we've not seen since 1900 tonight.
Look at the individual.
Look at the individual. I'm looking at them.
Abortion is an act of love. It gave me the ability to take control and power over my own life.
Wow. Isn't that just mighty white of you?
And make the most important decision up to me.
Yeah. Okay. That was from the Abortion Action Group. Imbeciles. Ted Cruz on Israel tonight. A couple more videos. We're going to wrap this up tonight. And Bridget Gabriel after this. Ted Cruz.
Let me be very clear. I believe that Israel has an absolute right to determine what happens in Judea and Samaria. This right is described in the Bible, and it extends through modern times. As you meet today, have confidence that the American people stand with you. And under President Trump and our new Republican Congress, the American government stands with you as well. Unfortunately, I cannot speak to you this weekend without recognizing the unfathomable trauma that Israel and indeed the Jewish people are enduring as Palestinian savages make the return of every hostage, living or murdered, an ongoing nightmare. Please know that Heidi and I are every day lifting you and the Jewish people up in our prayers. As for your enemies, who are also the enemies of America.
So is Chris and Kathy McDonald praying for you and the Jewish nation tonight.
We know that they seek to weaken you and to weaken us, and then destroy you, and then to destroy us. Here, I am constantly reminded of the words of an Israeli hero, Prime Minister Menachem Begin. Don't threaten us with cutting off your aid. It will not work. I am not a Jew with trembling knees. I am a proud Jew with 3,700 years of civilized history.
Yes.
Nobody came to our aid when we were dying in the gas chambers.
Come on.
Nobody came to our aid when we were striving to create our country. We paid for it. We fought for it. We died for it. We will stand by our principles. We will defend them. And when necessary, we will die for them again, with or without your aid. Every person in this room has paid for the land of Israel, has fought for the land of Israel, and far too many have done.
Way to go, Ted. Way to go. 1 week from Monday night, we are going to be sharing with you our experiences from the Holy Land trip we took. We were going to do it tonight, but we got Pastor Eli Hendricks coming, our tour guide, and he's going to talk to us about our October trip. And those of you that have sent, you will be getting some emails in this weekend from us with the registration forms, the brochures. If you'd like to go with us, McFilesForum@gmail.com. Put Israel in the subject line, and we will let you know about this upcoming trip in October. Here is Bridget Gabriel about the Somali fraud. And before I do that, I was debating whether to play this, but we'll do it again. We'll do some more stuff Monday night on our late show. Or on our show, we got a young lady coming on Monday night. It's going to bless your heart, Olivia Floyd. I do want to show you this from Hillary. I was talking about this with Leslie. Eric Metaxa says, can you imagine how scared and desperate Hillary Clinton must be to start pretending she cares about Christian values? After all she has said and done over the years, it's truly ghostly to consider. Hillary Clinton says events in Minneapolis show the Christian community what values that we don't need to embrace, and something to that effect. You got to just find that so rich, don't you? Candace Owens, I've been sort of slow to even bring this up, but she had a rabid anti-Semite on her show today, and I don't know if it can get any darker with her, but I want you to listen to this exchange. I'm not going to comment about it, other than say, when you're praying, you need to pray for Candace Owens. Roll tape.
What do you think about Erica Kirk?
Would I get sued?
Throw it in the pile. Of course you will.
I don't want to say anything that's controversial. She did it, but I don't. She was on it.
I don't want to get into.
I don't want to get into.
Yeah.
She's part of it.
I can't wait till that gets clipped.
She's a plant. But
yeah, that was a rabid anti-Semitic Muslim comedian, and he's so vile. He's so anti-Israel. Candace Owens had him on his show today, and you heard the laughter, making mockery of the assassination of Charlie Kirk and insinuating that Erica Kirk did it. No words for that. Here's Bridget Gabriel, and we'll wrap it up on this one. I got more, but I'll wrap it up another time. Here's Bridget Gabriel.
So how would you connect all of this to Minnesota? Because I think that clearly one of the things that the progressives want is they want more destruction. Their feeling is the more that they can create the chaos, the more they can get Trump to overreact. They can then say, hey, America doesn't work. Look, we have chaos, and we have this authoritarian guy trying to, take away our rights. Like, for them, the chaos is the perfect storm. It's basically the genesis of everything. So how connected is all of this to what's going on in Minnesota right now?
Well, it's very connected. In Minnesota, they needed a distraction from the fraud. The over $9 billion stolen from your pocket, my pocket, and our children's pocket to go to fraud to a group of people that Obama imported and plopped in Minnesota that have become such a huge voting bloc. They now have a representative in Congress. Not just one representative of Congress, but the lefty elected officials right now are bowing at their feet, trying to protect them. So the left has become the enemy of the state in the United States. They are the enemy within, David. Make no mistake about it. It is time we face the ugly truth. The left is working with the Islamists. The Islamists use what's happening in Minnesota. They want chaos because chaos is the driver for change. In chaos, evil thrives. In chaos, they can get away with fraud. In chaos, they can get away with restructuring and organizing and recruiting more people who are against people like you and me who want to preserve America. And so this is why they love the chaos in America. And that's exactly why you see the leftist groups and the Islamist groups are coming together to stand. We do not want the deportation of people of color, which is the rallying cry that they're bringing them now together because they turned it into a racist card right now. They're playing the racist card. You want to deport people because they are people of color because you are racist bigots. That's how they are playing it, which has nothing to do with reality. Mm-hmm. The left would much rather protect murderers, rapists, and pedophiles instead of protecting your mother, your father, and your children.
That is correct.
This is where we are in this country. So they are connected, they are working together, and their number one goal, for example, in Minnesota, they needed a reason to distract from the fraud. They found their reason, and they're going to continue this all the way up to the midterm election. They need something that will unify the Democratic Party to rally under an umbrella, to come together as one force against Republicans to make sure they stop Trump at all costs. They have fire in their belly. They have a desire for change, while our people are sitting on the sidelines praying that we're going to have change, hoping for change, praying that everything is going to work out, and saying to them, or getting themselves into thinking, well, I hope everything works out well. I'm going to go out and vote, and hope that every single conservative will come out and vote this next election.
And that's what we've got to do. Couple of quick things. This is Elon Musk tonight about England. Any government that puts the rights of fake asylum seekers above their own children, is what Bridget just said. This is what the globalists and elites, it's the left, globalist elites, whatever you want to call it, of their own children being brutally raped or killed is psychotically evil, and utterly illegitimate. Liz Truss repealed the Human Rights Act. There was a girl in England, this was today, age 12, raped in park after being pursued by the asylum seekers. And the court was told that one of the accused was literally laughing as he carried out this alleged attack. Go figure that. There is no depth of evil that we're seeing, folks, and this evil and this darkness is getting more dark by the minute. This is Insurrection. I didn't have a chance to talk about this tonight. This is Seattle's new communist mayor, Katie Wilson. Ted Cruz is calling it Insurrection, and so am I. The noun, an act or instance of rising in revolt, rebellion, or resistance against civil authority or an established government. That's the noun. The synonyms are mutiny, uprising, and insurgency. Cam Higbee tweeted this out tonight. Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson makes clear that her city doesn't need a signal chat. Instead, she's going to mobilize the actual police force to do what Signal Networks do in Minneapolis. She will even have the Seattle Police Department relay intel that they gather on federal agents to the police department so they can monitor not the criminals, but the police, the ICE agents. So that's an insurrection, folks, against the federal government. I don't know if anything's going to happen to that, but it should. It should. I think that's it. I've got more, but as I said, I'd be here till midnight. Yeah, I think we're done tonight. Just some common advice. This may help some of you. This is from Heather Childers. She used to be on Fox and used to be on Newsmax. I don't know what she's doing these days. She was a reporter. She's a good reporter. She quoted a proverb that we've been quoting sometimes in the morning Bible studies. Proverbs 26:4. Do not answer a fool according to his folly, or you yourself will be just like him. Harry Kazianis says the quote of the day from writer Mark Twain: never argue with stupid people. They will drag you down to their level, and nobody will tell the difference. The best thing to do is keep quiet. To keep quiet, and let them go. All righty, now, I got about 10 minutes. Stephen, you wrote something up here. I want to read that, and I think you're right. Stephen Feinholt tonight, he says, if you got a statement, any questions, he said, it is only a matter of time before a deranged healthcare worker acts on these threats, and I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that totally. I think that it's just like the riots. It's, is inevitable with these riots that somebody get hurt or killed. And Stephen, I'm with you. I think you're going to hear. There's been other YouTubers and TikTokers that have put stuff out there like this before. And I'm with you 1,000,000%. I think that eventually somebody's going to act on this. I do, which is not good. Excuse me. And well said. And I do agree with you. I think Trump's headed to have to do the Insurrection Act at some point. I do. I really do. I don't know when, but I do believe that that's where it's headed to in Minneapolis. Jay, you're so right about this. Chaos until the midterms is the only card the left has. That's why they're doing it. That is why they're doing all of this stuff, and it is chaos. And I think it's going to get worse. Carol Smith, where are you at? I saw something you posted earlier, and I thought it was funny, and I think the scroll and the if you would post that again for me. There it is. It's right here. She says, Carol Smith says it's hard for normal thinking people to understand crazy. I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that. I'll agree with that. Joan says, don't wrap it up. Keep more coming. I'm sure learning a lot. It's a Friday night. We can sleep in. Okay. Okay. Sue Smith. She's down in my home state of Georgia. Good to see you tonight, Sue. She says, I had a nurse in the OR that was going to put a swab in my nostril. I backed up. It was for antibacterial. It was, in fact, true. Well, that's part of what they do, Sue. That's why we don't trust the medical community. I am not a big fan of the docs. I really ain't. Sue, your other statement about parents that teach these children they don't have to be accountable for their actions, need to be held accountable. I'll agree with that. And I know Elaine posted this, and others of you, that school over in North Carolina, the principal did let him do it. He should be fired. The leadership of that school, the superintendents of that county, should have fired that principal on the spot for allowing that to happen. And all these liberals, I don't care if they're liberal or not. I don't care. I don't care. Again, it's good that maybe Chris has got grown kids and my son is homeschooling my grandkids. Because Papa Mac, they don't want Papa Mac's wrath. Because if my grandboys were involved in this, if their daddy didn't beat their butts, Grandpa Mac would. Because the McDonald boys are not going to act like this. And the McDonald girls. We're not going to tolerate rebellion. We don't tolerate rebellion in the McDonald house. And that's why I'm proud of my son. He runs a tight ship. His dad ran a tight ship with him. I was a good dad. Wasn't a perfect dad, but I was like my dad. We didn't tolerate disrespect. You know, as I said, my dad and mom gave us a lot of leeway. But when it came to this kind of stuff, the quickest way we could get to a butt whipping was to do what these kids are doing today. And they didn't have no problem doing it. They didn't care. They didn't care how loud we screamed, and they didn't care. We learned the lessons. Because I tell you what, to this day, to the day my dad died, I said yes sir, no sir to him. And I respected my mom, and I respect, even as they are in the grave, I still respect my parents. I respect their memory enough not to denigrate them and not to talk down about them. I respect their memory enough to respect my father even after death. This generation, they don't respect a ham sandwich. They won't respect anything. They don't. It's sad. It's sad. Anyway, Joan, good to see you tonight. Grateful to see you. Let's see if we got any other statements and questions tonight. Susan says, what does the Insurrection Act involve? Basically what it would do, Susan, it would give him the right to invoke the National Guard and literally take over the city of Minneapolis with federal troops, because when you got an insurrection, I mean, you're basically saying that is a threat to national security. The Department of Homeland Security would be in charge of it. It's an act. It's a judicial act. He'd be sued left and right, and there'd be lawyers lined up trying to stop him from doing it. But I think that if this keeps up in Minneapolis, eventually he's not going to have a choice. But I would caution President Trump that that's what the left wants him to do. They're already calling him a dictator. They're already calling him a tyrant, a king, or whatever. And if he does that, then they're what's the word I'm looking for? Their claim against him, they will consider that to be, now we told you he was a dictator. Look at what he's doing. Even though he can do it and he probably should do it, I would advise him not to do it. I would advise him not to do it. What he should do is let Minneapolis have their lawless utopia. And let the people get sick of it. Let the people start getting hurt. And let this crime wave destroy the city and destroy the state. And I know that that's no better than the other. But sometimes you gotta just let people be people. And anyway, it's a bad situation up there. No good solutions except to do what Tom Holman's doing. All right. Anything else, real quick? We've had a lot of good comments tonight. Yes, Susan, the lady was buying a puppy in South Carolina that got killed. Tia Z said, I think Dundalk High School. I know where Dundalk's at. Tia, our friend Stacy Shiflett, the pastor, he's in Dundalk. That's near where they wrote the Star Spangled Banner. I didn't know that they had that. I'm surprised. We need to get Stacy on the show about that. He's not been on for a while. And so forth. Anything else? Anything else? Anything else? All righty. Well, it looks like the comments are waning, so I'm going to say goodnight. Joan, we'll have a late night show. Pat and Deb says it's a sand trap that they want to drag him into. I do believe that, Pat and Deb. And Chris, it goes to your question. Do I think martial law will be called in America one day? Chris, I hope not. And I think Pat and Deb are right on target about this. It's a trap. There's no easy answers to this. I mean, folks, I hate to predict this tonight. If this keeps on, there's going to be somebody else get killed. Somebody else is going to do something stupid. They're going to have a confrontation. And there's going to be death. You cannot keep playing with fire like this and there not be. But again, we're villainizing as a nation the wrong people. The people that are the villains are not ICE. The people that are villains are the ones breaking the law. And the very fact that these illegals are running the street tonight, they're here illegally, that is a crime against this country. I don't know what part of that this world don't get. I don't know what part of that these elites don't get. I do know, but I don't know. I know it's coordinated. There's a reason why they want these illegals here to run rumshot over the country. I don't know if y'all remember the movie Devil's Advocate. It was a movie back in the mid-90s. In fact, this year, it's 31 years ago now that movie was made, Al Pacino, and it's a graphic movie. I wouldn't suggest you let the kids watch it. The whole premise of that movie, Al Pacino played the devil. Keanu Reeves played a lawyer. And this law firm was set up by the devil, the character of Al Pacino, to get criminals off. In other words, they were a defense firm. And he told Keanu at the end of the movie, when all the climax came, he said, I'm wanting to release every criminal that I can on the street. And he pointed up to God. It was a deep movie with a lot of religious themes that were not good. But it was accurate in how Satan wants to do to this country and this world. But Al Pacino pointed his finger to the sky. And he said, I'm going to make it so bad down here that he has to destroy this whole thing. And folks, that's why Satan is doing what he's doing tonight. He's wanting us to become so lawless and so godless and so perverse that God's not going to have a choice but to destroy this country. That's why intercession is needed for this nation. The only reason that's not happened are you believers and me tonight, others that believe in Jesus and are praying for this country as I close tonight. And if we've never needed to pray for our nation, it is right now. It is right now. Because that is the devil's ultimate goal. I never will forget Nita Johnson said something way back almost 7 years ago now when I first went to one of their Gathering of Eagles conferences. And she got up. She said almost exactly the same thing. She said that the Lord showed her that all of this lawlessness, all of these attempts at Trump, all these things that the left was doing, all these things that are going on in our nation was an attempt to bring the nation down to a place of such debauchery and a place of evil that God will have no choice but to do something about it. And I will remind you that when Sodom and Gomorrah got to the place that their iniquity came up, you can read this in Genesis 18. The Bible talks about the term. He told Abraham, he said, their iniquity has come up before me. Let me tell you something. That's a state that we don't want to get as this country, but we're rapidly getting there. And if this lawlessness continues, folks, this nation is not going to be here. We're not going to survive we won't even survive another year or two, let alone another 250 if the Lord tarries. That's what we need to deal with. Listen, I hope you enjoyed the show tonight, and we'll leave it at that. We hope that you've enjoyed it. If you did, put some fire in that house. Good to see our newcomers tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. And anyway, we're grateful to have you. And if you enjoyed it, put some fire in the house. Good to see everybody tonight. And I'm just making sure we didn't miss anybody, any good comments or questions. And we didn't. It looks like everybody's tapped out tonight. It's getting late. But we're grateful for Miss Leslie Milwee. She did great tonight, didn't she? Folks, got to pray for our country. Pray for our country. We're grateful to see you. You in the Tennessee area, it's white out there. It's beginning to look a lot January. Everywhere we go. All right, I gotta play the John Rich song one more time as we go out tonight. With all this depressing news, we need to laugh a little bit. Global warming is freezing us to death. I think Elaine said this is up yours, Al Gore. Take it away, John. Have a good night, everybody. I'll see you back here Sunday on the Face Shows.
Man from Tennessee told the world the ice caps would all melt into the sea. Gasoline and diesel would be the end of you and me. Now the fat man burns $100 bills, laughing while we freeze. Hey, Al Gore, are you still sure the planet's burning up? 'Cause everywhere I go, it's awfully cold and the pipes are freezing shut. And in my house, when I lay down, I can almost see my breath. Yeah, global warming is freezing us to death. Al and all his experts had to save us from ourselves, so they made us drive electric cars and put windmills everywhere. Well, I guess they did too good a job, 'cause just look around my town. 'Cause the ice is piling up and now the trees are falling down. Hey, Al Gore, are you still sure the planet's burning up? 'Cause everywhere I go, it's awfully cold and the pipes are freezing shut. And in my house, when I lay down, I can almost see my breath. Global warming is freezing us to death. Yes, global warming is freezing us to death.
Global warming is freezing us to death. Good night, everybody. Be blessed out there. We'll see you over the weekend. Be safe, warm, and American. God bless. Good night.